Okay, did it go? Hang on.
Yeah, I think you joined it. So I have shared chat enabled, so I think that should be good.
Okay, that's why I was checking here because I shows. I think it should still show that I'm in it because I left it on my phone. Okay, no, we're still. Okay, I'm still in. Okay, never mind. All right. Okay, so we're fine, and the audio check is good to go here.
Yeah.
All right. So, if you guys don't mind us. We're just sitting here doing an audio check while we're going through in order to make sure everything is concrete and good to go on the algorithm. So, viewers, fans, subscribers, followers, all the same, I want to introduce you guys to the next episode of the Space Bridge here, the podcast for the Iacon battle circuit here on console and on PC. My next guest here, in understanding a lot of the trials and tribulations across Demon Slayer, the video game for the fighting game and the arena fighters hierarchy in the genre. My next guest here is an avid and well-experienced chronicler in his own right that has documented a vast amount of the video game up to this point and into the new day with current Chronicles number 2. I want to take the time to introduce you guys to the leader of TCO, Sorryman321.
Hey, I'm here. I love it.
That it is, and it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm glad I had a chance to have you on here.
How has the week been? Busy. These days it's a lot of meetings, it's a lot of organizing things, school, and of course, trying to have fun playing the game.
Gotcha. I noticed earlier today or yesterday, I think the DLC outline or the teaser for Zenitsu came out. How excited are you?
I'm very excited. I'm really looking forward to seeing more Slayers enter the fold. With every Slayer that comes into the game, that's more opportunities for team shells and more opportunity for new tech, and everything.
Okay. Can't hear Rodimus.
On my end, so I need to add the Discord audio source.
Oh, okay. Oh, then they'd need to also hang on.
Thanks for the heads up. So that is fixed.
Can they hear me now?
Yes, they can hear you now.
Okay. Hey, Hoodie Polk, welcome in. Well, no, I wasn't sure if it was even going to happen today, and that's why since we had time now, and I didn't have to do anything for like the next few hours until cooking came up for Thanksgiving, I went ahead and just settled into it now while I have them here.
Mm-hmm.
If you, depending upon where we go in, if we go into the PvP section, if you like, then yeah, I can have you invited in here. That way, if you want, you can chime in while we're going through, because it'll be a good minute until we get to that section in the interview. If you need the invite in here, just let me know. Just do exclamation Discord, and you should have the invite for Tech City. But the documentation through a lot of Demon Slayer has been a very educational ride and unique roller coaster for the most part. So I'm glad I had a chance to sit and meet you next in the journey here and see as we delve into a lot of what it is that you know about the first game and the second game, and we see how they compare and contrast.
Yeah, ask anything you'd like to know, and I'll do my best. I have been playing the game for a long time, so and I can offer a unique perspective. So just let me know.
Okay. So the first thing I want to delve into is, I guess we'll delve into the community overture, and then we can also go into layer 2 and then delve into your own personal trials and tribulations going through the community from when you started to the present.
Mm-hmm.
So to start off the table of contents, I guess I would say is like,
mm-hmm.
What was the community's origin like when it first founded? This could be the first game or the second game.
Well, I would of course go back to the first game. Demon Slayer coming out was, and then for the most part, I'd probably start with my perspective. I got into the Naruto Storm series really heavily while I was in college. Something that me and my friends would play all the time in the activity center. My first major arena fighter. I was big into Street Fighter. I was big into other fighting games, but the arena fighter as well. Like, it felt like a new avenue where I could be competitive, and try a bunch of different characters, because arena fighters have a lot of characters a lot of the time, especially the Storm series. But got really into it. Got big into note taking on it. Demon Slayer 2 got announced, and Demon Slayer got announced, and then I was like, oh snap, that's Storm. Like, it looked like mechanically they took the foundation of Storm and they was doing something new. And when I got into Demon Slayer, I found something I honestly began to enjoy even more than I did the Storm series. So the community's origins, you're gonna hear asking that question to everybody. You're gonna get a lot of different avenues and pathways. That was around the COVID era. A lot of people were looking for something to get into to pass the time, things to escape some of the stressors that were going on. For me, when I got into the DS community, it was the Demon Slayer official server, and at the time it was known as the Slayer House. Two servers that had leaderboards and different activities going on for getting into the game. I was in all the games that I play, I tend to try and play Murata, so I might be yammering a little bit too much off the topic of the thing. But I was a Murata main entering into a game that I didn't know the community all that well, but I was hungry to show that, as in every game that I love, I pick a low tier or the character that I love, and Murata was it. It was like, oh, this character is in the game. This is my main. Day one, Murata Sakanji. I took him into leaderboards. I started challenging people for their seats. I climbed the ranks, and along the way, I was meeting wonderful people in different stages of the competitive grind, namely the Xbox community, because I was on Xbox at the time. But that's where my avenue started. From there, it would lead me to joining a clan, meeting wonderful people, some of which I've been with ever since, and that's where my origin was. Hopefully, I didn't. It's so much for me to try and condense. I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay, it sounds like a pretty in-depth journey to get here.
Absolutely. Plenty of names to like. So like Mr. Perfect Record was earlier on in that he was a Murata main too. He was one of the Murata players as well. There was character leaderboards. I was repping the Murata for that character leaderboard, and I was climbing the ranks, and that's where the journey began. I got introduced to different clans, and I eventually joined one, and that evolved into everything that is here today.
Okay. What was your first experience or battle in the game, or the first event that you visited?
Let's see. First experience, first battle in the game. So, like I said, the character leaderboards that were in the Slayer House, the sister server to the official server. So Mr. Perfect was one of the main people leading that. Funny enough, and interesting shout out here for some history. One of the first people that I ended up challenging on those leaderboards was Devo. Demolisher, as you guys know her today. And yeah, we had our fight. I think she was playing at that time that I was getting into it with the leaderboards. She was playing Akaza. So Akaza had come out by then. But that was one of the first notable fights that I can think of, as far as like interacting with the person as that I was challenging. So that's there. There was Xbox events that would start happening. People like Darkness, my guy was hosting Xbox events. Then more history. I would have to go way back. I'd have to look at my challenge records to even find some of this stuff. Although I probably can, but yeah, that's one of the first things that comes to mind.
Okay. And that was like back in the first game when you first met Demo, or was this in the second game?
So Demon Slayer 2 is still quite early on. Demon Slayer 2 came out in August this year. So this is back what 4 years ago, in Demon Slayer 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, damn! I thought Demon Slayer. Oh, damn! This thing is a newborn for number
Yes,
2.
sir. Number 2 is quite early. So, yeah. And secondary shout out to Demo. One of the first events in my challenge records is one of Demo's events. And an offshoot of the Wanted series that Demo was hosting. So there's there. So shout out to Demo once again.
Okay. When you first met her back then, were you guys both competitors in those years?
Depends on how you describe a competitor. We're both on the leaderboard, so I mean, yeah, that was there.
Oh,
Of course,
leaderboard warriors.
for me, and you'd probably have to ask her about like where her competitive description, like if she considered herself competitive or not. But she was on the leaderboard, and it was a good fight that we had. We were both like, game was early on. Don't know what the exact like levels to everything was. Me, I was just trying to figure out if I could make it with Murata and Sakanji.
Right. Like in those days, like now, when a game is early on, like the way I would define competitor is like in the early stages of like you want to invest with a character, so you don't really want to take it casually all the time. You do want to try and invest a little bit of competitive appetite to it. That way you can see how far the character can go while you're applying the character or getting a feel for understanding the character and the buttons and mechanics, maps, people.
Yeah, for sure. For me, and I spent a lot more time in training mode than I ever did competing, but that was a part of the fun for me. Where because I was so interested in Murata, who widely considered to be a low tier character. Some people will give him points because as an assist he's amazing, but as a point character, which I would play him point, he was level 1 dash speed, not very high damage character, but I was looking for the routes. I was looking for a way to utilize the cheer tech, which replenished the support gauge. So he didn't have a traditional DP or reversal, but he had a water wheel and he had a surface slash. So he didn't have a whole lot of hits to his. Okay, let me not yammer. He didn't do a whole lot of damage, but he was good at scaling. He had a higher than average damage multiplier, so he has higher defense. He could take more damage than a lot of other characters. In Demon Slayer 1, Murata, Water Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Giyu were the ones with 1.00 damage multipliers. And everyone in the cast had worse defense than that, except for Sakanji. Sakanji was the only exception who had 0.95 damage multiplier. So Murata was on the upper end of like, hey, he can get hit and not die. But he was slow and he didn't do a whole lot of damage, but he had great scaling. So you wouldn't do damage in your regular combos all that much, but if you were able to be creative with your ultimate confirms, you could get massive damage off of those. If you could get a very low scaling thing like a heavy attack into 3 water surface slashes, that was amazing. Like you could TOD Okaza with that. which it was a feat. It was cool stuff.
Okay. Next question. What was your greatest achievement in and with the community?
Greatest achievement. The thing I'm most proud of, being a part of the community is being the leader of TCO, my clan, and being helping make TCO what it is. Other notable accolades that I'm really happy about competitively. I did get top 3 in opening burst for the Project P mod, which was a community rebalancing mod that was featured in that opening burst. I got top 3, and then in ultimate burst of that year, I did get top 8. So I did play on day 1, making it to top 8, and then I didn't make it to day 2, but I was a commentator. So I mean, it worked out. I got to I got to play in one of the biggest tournaments in Demon Slayer history with 86 players, and I made top 8, and then I got to commentate the next day. It was great. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. In DS2, I got 7th place out of 68 players in the final selection, and that was wild as well. So those are up there. But I mean, being able to work on commentary for Ultimate Burst, being able to work production for that, being a collaborator for Blood Moon Brawl, which was the $1,000 event hosted by Daddy Silver FGC. Just in general, being somebody who helps support the community, that's what I'm most proud of.
Okay. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
How does the ability to play and compete in Demon Slayer influence you or give value to you?
How does the ability to play or compete in Demon Slayer? I am, even though I'm a lab rat, I do enjoy competition, and that lab work is meant to be able to, okay, once I get on that battlefield, I'm showing up with a character that you ain't never seen before, and you're like, all right, this is gonna be an easy fight. I'm fighting Murata. What are you doing? I'm fighting Yuichi Type 0. What are you doing? And then that character proceeds to cook them. Like, it's an amazing feeling, So being able to defy the odds with interesting characters is what I love to do. I also like to win, but I like to balance the two. So either playing a character that people don't routinely see, or trying to play a character people do routinely see in a unique way. Just trying to express the way that I play the game.
Gotcha. Hey, welcome in, Vanguard of Destiny. Almost no one's played that. We're getting there. We're going to be cooking that egg soon. Don't worry about that. I'm going to bring that back up in that thesis. Sit, prop your feet up, chillax, and happy Thanksgiving in advance. Next question is, in your perspective, do connections have a role in events housing NA and EU players, or separating them, or does it vary?
Do connections, like the online netcode?
Yes.
In DS2, that's an issue. In DS1, I think the game got to a point where it was more stable within, even if you were playing cross-region. In DS2, while it's really impressive what they were able to do, like, everybody had kind of an expectation that, okay, once DS2 rolls around, PS4 is going to be a thing of the past. Like last gen is going to be a thing of the past. They're not getting DS2, or if they are getting DS2, they're not playing with the PS5. You know, but
Another
they were
platform
able,
segregation effort.
right? Like, but they were able to uh, make 60 FPS available for last gen. That's like that was the last thing that we expected.
That's
Now that
huge.
said, it is huge. It is huge. Unfortunately, while when it works well. Oftentimes it doesn't quite work, and the stability of the game is uh, oftentimes not the best. It is routinely not the best, and that paired with netcode that isn't the most stable either. Um, sometimes you're just juggling different issues with the game, whether it's the game itself moving at the wrong frame rate, it's the net code. If you pair the two together, oftentimes cross regions doesn't even work. So it's difficult. So yeah, connection is definitely a major part, especially post COVID. Like online is so important to the health and longevity of fighting games and games in general. So you kind of need your game to be stable. And in the case of Demon Slayer 2 in particular, the connection, the stability, even more so, has been an issue. So oftentimes events get restricted to one region at a time, and cross region events do still happen, but it's at your own risk if you're a TO or a player, because sometimes things get pretty wonky.
Follow-up question: how
Yes.
consistent of an error or a background issue was connections for region-based players in DS1?
Um, it was there. It was definitely there, but it was not as consistently there. In DS1, um, you could oftentimes feel, okay, I'm playing cross region, or this game's kind of delayed. But generally, if both players' connections was good, so like your internet setup is sufficient, then at worst you'd have a situation where the game is running delayed, but it's playing consistently. So you'd feel a delay between your actions, but it would be consistent. It wouldn't always stutter. Like if there was a stutter, that would be more problematic. In DS2, delay is usually kind of the expectation, even within your own region sometimes. So when you go cross region, it can get compounded on itself. Like whether it be an issue with the frames, whether it be an issue with internet stability, and then some of the mechanics inside the game, some of the adjustments that were made, it makes it so that if, hey, I was able to react to it in DS1, maybe you're not able to react to it. Maybe you're not able to defend against it as well as you would. So it's a mix of things.
Okay. I mean, I know at the end of the day, I mean, all of us are like net warriors to a degree, but there are limitations to it, and like that's the first game was a little more lenient about it than the second game. Second game is just it's a no go. We got to do the separation.
Yeah. It is like a technological marvel that they were able to bring 60 FPS to PS4, but I can't in all sincerity say, hey, it was, just a through and through mission success.
It
we
has
we
its drawbacks.
Yeah, and we're still like hoping that like some type of patch, some type of update, increases the level of stability.
Okay. Let me see what you said. Misfit Senju. On Xbox, if you sneeze on the menu button during mid-match, and it disconnects the entire lobby. Oh my god.
Yeah. I don't know if that was Demon Slayer only, but in cases for games, if you were to press the Xbox button, something about having that home menu open, or that menu button open would like sort of desynchronize the connection between the two players. And if it was open for long enough, then a lobby would break.
Damn. Game 1's valley are Game 2's peaks. Interesting. Let me see here. Next analysis is going into the state of play and updates or patch notes and DLC changing the sandbox. Vanguard, that's a very interesting question. That's exactly the premise of my thesis. I'm about to exit my mouth right now and pause chat. But that is exactly what we're getting ready to delve into next, which is the state of play, updates, pending patch notes, and the DLC that's changing the landscape for this game. And since I just found out that the Demon Slayer game is a 2025 release game, I thought this was a last year release game, but this is a this year release game. So this is still,
Demon Slayer 2, 2025.
Yeah, Demon Slayer 2. So Demon Slayer 2 is still a newborn. There's still a whole landscape ahead of it to still make more of an impression with its audience as it goes on. And and so you guys are now 2 DLC characters in, because the last one was the Thunder dude.
Kaigaku, yes.
Yeah, Kaigaku. So you're still in his era right now. We're getting ready to move into your 3rd DLC characters patch whenever that comes out, which I'm guessing is probably a December or a January assessment.
Yes, we're looking at Zenitsu in December. I believe December 1st. I believe it's December 1st that Zenitsu's Infinity Castle version is coming out.
Okay.
Was the question finished, or should I talk about balance patches?
Oh, that was mainly the thing, was just go into your thoughts on the balance work of the video game and how each DLC has changed the sandbox, or if even patchwork, big or small, came with every DLC character. This game or the second game, however you want to delve into it. It's a pretty layered question.
All right. There's so much to say from my perspective about DS2's balance or its mechanics, because a lot has changed from DS1 to DS2, and a lot of it I love, a lot of it I'm not so sure how to feel about. For me, I dislike the changes that they made to push, block, and parry. Some of the concepts were probably good, but over adjustments, where the parry mechanic is a yellow combo. Time you have to convert off of a parry is very limited. The area of effect for a parry seems questionable at times. There'd be times where you know exactly when a move is going to come out. You go to parry it and you'll miss, or you will parry the move and you still get punished for a successful parry. So it can be very frustrating if you're a player who has put a lot of time into being able to read your opponent and find that moment to try and counterattack them, only to succeed or fail for a reason that succeed or fail to get a successful quote unquote parry but still get punished. Like, I can hit you with the parry and not have enough time to get my combo. Or a persistent thing from DS1 to DS2, if you have the assist behind you or the assist hits you first, you can get a double parry, where now the hit stun isn't enough to get a conversion. There's so many different interactions that can happen. But it can be frustrating to try and use that mechanic successfully. So that has been nerfed. You have things like heavy attacks that have been largely buffed, with an asterisk, because they made it so that in DS1 a heavy attack was a just fully armored move. If you start a heavy attack You know, you have your charge time and you have your active frames where you throw out the attack. The whole thing was armored. If before the attack you wanted to cancel it, you could. In DS2, now if you are far away from the opponent and you start a heavy attack, if you release it, you're going to begin dashing at the opponent. Once you reach the opponent, you're no longer armored. So it's an interesting mechanic that they've put inside the game where if your opponent's far away from you and throwing projectiles, you can armor through those projectiles and get to your opponent. But that's not, even though that's a widespread thing, I can't call it quite universal, but there's a lot of characters in the game that have that dash mechanic to their heavies.
Like a version of it, or like that version?
So some characters have, let's call it a stationary heavy, some characters have a dashing heavy. One or the other. So a character like Zenitsu, who in DS1 had like a long range heavy, in DS2 he still has that long range heavy. He doesn't dash, right? Whereas a character that like Water Tanjiro, Nezuko, most Slayer characters, most characters that didn't have a long range heavy, have a dash associated with it. So if you activate it and you start the heavy, then your character will dash, and you can also cancel that armored dash. It's kind of a unique thing to it. I have a video talking about heavies if anybody wants to take a look at that. So you'll dash, you'll be armored for the duration of the dash, but once you get to the opponent and start the actual attack of the heavy, it's no longer armored unless you fully charged it. It's interesting as far as trying to challenge opponents that are far away. It gives you a different approach option, but like it's kind of led to a situation where you get the opponent to block your assist and you break their guard with a fully charged heavy, right? Characters that were using their heavies for more niche uses, so like Sabito, who had a really fast heavy in Demon Slayer 1, he still has a fast and good heavy in Demon Slayer 2, but its usage is completely different. Shinobu, her heavy, its usage is completely different. Like stationary, it's like, hey, your opponent is approaching you, and you get to like basically use it as your counterpunch because you're gonna armor through and then hit him, essentially. But if now you're forced to do this dash before this heavy, it changes the dynamics at play. I probably spent way too much time over explaining. Watch my heavy video if you wanna get more details on that, anyone in chat. But there's a lot of new mechanics that have interesting applications, but they don't universally work. Another example, Yahaba. And Yahaba's a controversial character to some people. In DS1, some people thought he was amazing because there was really good players that were able to, take advantage of his projectiles and zoning and stuff like that. But Yahaba, even in DS1, had some really odd design choices about him. And in DS2, the way that they adjusted the universal mechanics, I don't think that character exists in terms of balance or tier lists in DS2. Yeah, sure, you could play against somebody who has trouble with projectiles and zoning and win against them, but conceptually, theoretically, you should not be losing to Yahaba, in my opinion. His damage output is much worse. Let me not even get into all the specifics. His heavy attack in DS1, as controversial as it was to some people, that was his replacement for his reversal. He doesn't have a DP. He has an armored demon skill, but that armored demon skill spawns at your feet. So if you were all the way across the map, I could throw out that armored demon skill and it would erupt at your feet and explode right there. The thing is, with like DPs and reversals, typically it's, your get off me tool, right? So like, hey, you're approaching me, or maybe you're pressuring me, I can throw out a DP and it works on you. With Yahaba, if it spawns at your feet, you just move. You just move. That or you hit him before it activates because it's armored up slow. But he could essentially use his heavy attack, which did 0 damage, by the way, to armor up and, just shoulder some damage and hit you with a Gatling gun of arrows to try and stun you. In DS2, once you start shooting them arrows, you're not armored. So Yahaba uniquely has a stationary heavy that isn't armored once you start it. So I don't even know what comparison to make on that. Like if you play Street Fighter, the DS1 heavy is like your focus attack.
Basically.
In DS2, it's like trying to combine a focus attack with a drive rush, and depending on your character, either you're really happy or you dropped your character. Again, I can rant for a really long time as far as and I probably should leave some of that ranting for a video, but different characters have different levels of success and different levels of usage for it. Heavies used to be like a high damage thing that you could do. They're not really for damage. Like in mid combo, you wouldn't really go for a heavy anymore because they adjusted it to make it more of like a universal tool to like get through something and whatever. Now all the heavies kind of do the same damage with asterisk. It's not every single heavy, but like a lot of the heavies do about the same damage.
Yeah.
Or like if you were to throw a heavy mid combo, maybe you had a fancy combo like me. I'm a Murata main. Like I was doing combos where I would get the assist to buy me some time. I would throw out a heavy mid combo in DS1. You could do those same combos in DS2, but it's not going to reward you anything. As creative as it is, as skillful as it is, and all of that, it's not as rewarding. And there's new things in DS2 that are interesting, but there's also limitations based on what has been added to the game. If you have cool switch tech, or maybe you attack the opponent, you switch into your other character and try and grab them, or go for something, you now have to be really careful about how you do your inputs in DS2, because if you press the block button and the assist button at the same time, you'll do a team support switch thing. And that's a cool mechanic, but if a cool mechanic gets in the way of doing other things that are creative, it can be a problem.
That is a huge mismanagement of a balance.
Well, that wasn't even that's just like the mechanics, like it doesn't get into like that's the starting point for like, okay, now how does the game look balance wise? I will say when it comes to the balance of DS2, one of the bonuses of it is that most playstyles, most character archetypes have a character that you can counter it with. So if you're the type of player that's versatile and you have many characters in your bag, then you're probably going to have a fun time. Like if you have a hard time with one team, you can switch to another, or switch to a demon, switch to something else that counters. Now that said, some of the things that make certain characters strong is kind of frustrating. And I would hope that adjustments are made. There's too many issues, too many bugs, too many things that feel like exploits rather than creative expressions of skill. To try and wrap up me ranting and try and save you guys from how much I can rant. My perspective on DS2. When I got 7th in the final selection, like I mentioned earlier, I was playing Murata and Gyome. Gyome, who we would later find out is S tier. My approach to DS2 was pretty hands off because I was a lot busier this year, and it's interesting because the way I view DS2 right now and its state of like mechanics and balance, it's that if you're this is gonna sound so bad. If you're just tuning into DS2 every so often competitively, you're gonna have the most fun. If you're playing DS2 like committed, trying to get real in depth with some of your characters and everything like that, you're gonna have a rougher time because it's not gonna be as rewarding as just picking what's meta. It's not gonna be as rewarding as picking some of the more popular options. And it's not to say that there is no skill to DS2. No, there's still skill in DS2, but all the same, a player that could not fight against a top player, I'll throw myself on that list. Like in that final selection, I beat Chrome, the ultimate burst champion of that year for DS1. Or no, am I mixing myself up? No, of the previous year, of 2024, right? So him playing Enmu, a character that he's been devoted for a long time to, it felt like me on Yome, I was getting away with stuff that did not make sense. I still won, but it feels like hey, it might be because the level of reward for playing this character is a lot greater than it should be. Whether that be, hey, Yome is overpowered in some areas, or it be, it's a lot harder to defend against stuff that you would have been easier to defend against in DS1, right?
Right. So
every time that I try and sorry, I'll wrap up. Every time that I think about what they can do to balance the game, I come back to, we need to adjust push, block, and parry first. It doesn't have to be the exact same as DS1, but it's over nerfed in DS2, in my opinion. So like,
to where there's like a blunt difference with how characters should be playing.
Right, you get put in block stun in DS2, and your guard might break, and you might lose your life for it. Whereas in DS1, push block actually worked, right? In DS2, if you're push blocking, you're either you mistimed your push block, and there's no wiggle room to get out of this pressure, or the opponent expected that push block and they grabbed you for it. And a grab in DS2 can do 20% or more, just with a single grab. And the grabs recover a lot faster. The big risk moves that were big risk moves in DS1 aren't as big risk. So it's like you gotta go. Like DS2 incentivizes just offense, rush at the opponent, break their guard, and all that. And yeah, people are, in a certain sense, it's still more fun to watch. But if you're an active player, if you're a player that's trying to commit to the craft and go in and out, like, hey, I want to set up crazy resets, I want to do all this, it feels weird to be in a position where, like I said, because I was playing DS2 while busy, I have a whole bunch of other stuff. I just pick Yome, I pick Murata, and then I call it a day, and I'm winning, right? Versus, I'm gonna lab out Yorichi type 0, find all the mix-ups, find all the this, find all of that. You work so hard, and then you still lose to a Yome. You still lose to an EDZen. You still lose to whatever has proper things of the mechanics. So I like the concepts that are introduced, but I do think adjustments need to be made. My fault. I can be long-winded.
No, that's okay. In this instance, it's good to give examples, because examples allow a direct mental picture of the exact mechanic lack or abuse there is that is exactly why that needs to be looked at.
Mm-hmm. And I do like what Pay Knights said. Like I'm not gonna blanket agree and say that's the solution, but it's a give and take thing where it's not just that one thing is overpowered. Like for me, before I want anybody to be touched or readjusted in terms of like their balance, like I think the push block and the parry, like that changes a lot. There's some characters that get away with putting you in block stun a lot more than they probably should. There are like it's like EDZen, for example, his assist has been adjusted to where it feels like there's more of a gap. Like he can drop in combos easier. Like it feels like there's a bigger gap in his assist, but because push block and parry are nerfed, it's like you can't take advantage of that. And you're stuck in the same boat of like, oh, you hold this pressure, so adjustments need to be made, is the main thing. If I'm balancing Yome, me personally, I'm giving him level 2, I'm reducing some of his damage, and then that's mostly it. There's stuff I buff about Yome. That sounds crazy to you, but like, I mean, we could talk about it. Like we can. I just think some mechanics and some features of characters are just overly done. Oh, Nikito popped in right as I said buff him.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I said it. Buff him.
Nikki, you come in at like the weirdest time. It's like as soon as the sentence left his lips, he just like, bro.
But like I would give him like a level 2. I would take off his some of his damage. I would make his grab more punishable because it's such a huge grab. It's like, if he's making that big of a swing, you should at least be able to punish him for it. You know what I mean? Like
I would think, because in most other fighting games, like a big swing means, okay, if I block this or if I jump, then there's a long ass recovery frame coming after this. So he should be wide open, ideally, but there's no window that you can ideally opt to get to with what options you're left to with the spacing. If Guillaume was in DS1, he wouldn't be a problem because of the mechanics of that game. That's how Muzan is. Oh! Alright, well, there you go. Scenario literally just invoked. Next analysis is to talk about the introduction level of the Demon Slayer gameplay experience. In your opinion, between either 1 or 2, what was the introductory ceiling of the video game? Or what is the introductory ceiling? Like, is it beginner friendly? Is it more execution friendly? Is it like easy to learn, hard to master? Lay it on me.
It's an interesting question. DS2 is mechanically more beginner friendly, but be that as it may, if you put a new player into DS2 against somebody who understands how to exploit some of those mechanics, I can see a world where that player ends up quitting because they can't fight it. When you're getting good at Demon Slayer, resource management and the strategy come to mind, but those are the layers that you get to after you get to understand the mechanics. And because the mechanics, like heavy and like the offensive mechanics are so strong and the defensive mechanics are so difficult to use, it's hard to run away, it's hard to push block and get an opponent off you, it's hard to parry. Like if you subject a beginner to some of the crazy things that are in DS2 that don't cost a lot, you just throw your assist at them, and if you made them block, then their guard is broken and they're cooked. At that point, you have life lead, and they don't really have a way to defend themselves. In DS1, I think the mechanics are going to be harder for them to understand in a certain sense, but like it's still more of a a toss up. And like there's a wider array of skill in DS1. In DS2, that array of skill is much more condensed. So like even if you're a high tier player, you've won all of these accolades and tournaments and stuff like that. Somebody who's playing a strong shell, playing Gyome, playing certain teams, they're going to be able to fight against you. And it feels like it's, in a lot of cases, for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I mean, this was good intentions, but again, the thought didn't really pay off.
I mean, it's interesting, but when you get it in the hands of a player who's like, let's call him sweaty, then it's going to be rough. So if a beginner versus a beginner, they'll probably have a good time. Like, you know, you're gonna have a good time. But once, and it doesn't take that much time. You go to that beginner and you say, "Hey, throw your assist at him real quick, and then hold your heavy attack," or you know, something of that vein. Or pick these certain characters. Then you can put them in a position where they're winning now, and it feels like they're not winning because they took the time to really practice something more expressive or more individualistic or more like it feels like certain things are more rewarding with certain characters than others. In DS2, even playing the demons, even though they regenerate, generally weaker. An asterisk, because like, hey, you're gonna go, okay, no, there's strong demons, but there's weak ones too, right? A solo Yahaba does not exist. You're not winning with solo Haba, right? I would love to be the solo Haba that's winning, but you go beat for beat what they changed on that character, and it's interesting because even with the characters that I'll look at and say they're at the bottom of the barrel as far as how you can play them, this is the best version of their character in a certain sense, right? Like as mechanically. Let me not rap forever. Yahaba can do a lot of things that he could not do in DS1, but he can't do a lot of the things that he could do in DS1.
God damn, so he's a shadow of his former self by mechanics.
Yeah. Murata, he's just the best version of himself, but he's overshadowed by everyone else who can execute on the mechanics a lot better, right? He has a cheer that replenishes his assist gauge, but in a game where it's so much more rewarding to do this team combo switch, why would you use that? You know, like if you get rewarded for like dashing at your opponent, you're building special meter. If you were to do a cheer to replenish your assist, you know, you're losing out on, like, even just putting Murata on the field, it's like you're losing out on the rewards of like playing a faster character or a character that can approach easier. Like if I'm playing Genya from across the map and I shoot you and I tag you, then I can now use that support switch to go across the map, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a thing where the new mechanics just widen the gap. If you did not have a level of privilege with a character, then that character isn't really gonna work all that well. So it's really hard to play. It was hard to play Murata Point in DS1, granted, but you kind of just can't do it in DS2. It was, you know, it took skill to play Yahaba in DS1. People will argue against that. People don't like projectiles, but skill issue. In DS2, the projectiles have been nerfed. You know, we can armor through them with these dashes. We can parry the projectiles themselves. We couldn't used to do that. And Susahaba, that's a decent enough team. Generally regarded as strong, but it's not as strong as a lot of these Slayers, those teams are. And I think I'm gonna get into the weeds. I'm gonna get myself into trouble. But the solo characters can be struggling. Yurichi Type 0, he's struggling. He's missing things, it feels like. He has a level 1 dash speed, he can't approach you. He can't approach you. And he has like really high commitment to everything. So like there's a couple of characters, it's like why would you play this character? For fun. That's why you'd play the character. You wouldn't play the character to win. And even if you're trying to win, it's gonna be a rough journey. But that's the journey I signed up for, ain't it?
Fair. That's fair. And in terms of trying to play this character, you might got to go through hell to get to heaven. There might be little slices of life things about the character that it's like, okay, during these matches, even though he struggles really hard against this matchup, so it's a bad matchup, there's a couple of little nuanced things about him that make it not so bad. Yes, it is bad, but it is not the end of the world. This is like, there's these little reprieve moments where, oh, he gets a little reward here, or he can still follow up here, so layering. Someday I will make Shinobu work.
And another thing, my fault.
Yeah,
but like, there is so many different things that I can rant about. I'm so sorry. It's like the down combos. One of my favorite things about Shinobu is that she had a down combo that you could cancel into special attacks. Right? It would bounce the opponent and you could keep the combo going. Like, down combos lead to hard knockdowns, generally. But, you know, if you're slick with it, you can continue the combo in DS1. In DS2, one of the things that they did was they made down combos more reliably hard knockdowns that you can't convert off of solo. That it builds you a big chunk of special gauge. But as good as that is, and I can get it, it's like, okay, you get this hard knockdown and you get this chunk of special gauge. You made it so that you can't continue after down combo. But there was so much fun, creative things like you could do with just regular Zenitsu. You could do a down combo and you'd be leading into a hard knockdown, but then you could do his fast air spin and launch the opponent back into the air and keep going, right? That wasn't necessarily optimal or whatever the case is, but it was cool. It was creative, and it gave plenty of opportunities. And in DS2, it feels like, all right, if I'm going to get this chunk of meter build, I want to be able to do my down combo multiple times in a single combo and build a bunch of meter. You know, that'd be really cool. But unless you're doing like this weird team switch thing, or you have a down combo that's launching into the air first and then you can go into an assist, then you can't do that, right? And even if you do that, then it's like maybe you're not using your assist in your combos anymore because it's so much more rewarding to extend your combo timer with the team switch. So there's so many things that it's like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, this has cool functionality, but it makes certain aspects that were cool in DS1 obsolete. It makes certain creative things that you'd want to be able to do in DS2 ineffective.
Understandable, and that's why I can see why you urge for the mechanic alteration. That way, it can still not nerf characters of the now, but it doesn't have to phase out characters of the present.
I also really dislike the new Zenitsu. Like, they completely changed the functionality of his TCFs. So like you could do 2 hits, jump backwards, and go into a TCF prime. You'd land on the ground, and then you could loop that, right? And you can still sort of do loops, but you have to go for stranger routes. The timing feels wonky, and it just doesn't feel as fun. It doesn't feel as expressive. That's not the case for every single character, but for EDZen, I mean, not EDZen, for base Zen, it feels like I can see why you did this, but it doesn't feel as fun. if I had my way, I would take the uh, entire character of the DS2 Zenitsu, and I'd put him on Academy Zenitsu, and then I'd bring OG Zen back, or vice versa. I'd put OG Zen from DS1 on Academy Zenitsu, and we make him level 2, and Academy Zenitsu would have a field day. It would be amazing.
Damn. It would just like update all of his base kit without needing to add new specials.
Yeah, like just bring back the way that the kit worked in DS1. Because like if you didn't know, the Academy characters have slight variations to begin with, and in DS2, the slight variations aren't that impactful. In Academy Zen's case, he takes a little bit less damage. Like he takes 0.05 less damage, and then he's a level 1 dash speed character rather than a level 2 dash speed character, that's just a nerf. It's just the worst Zenitsu.
Okay. Next analysis was to talk about the comp scenes and the tourneys. So, how abundant are a lot of the tournaments that are going on in the Demon Slayer scene? How abundant are they, and how many are there that's going on?
How many exactly are there? So I know primarily we have gotten to another period of events are primarily on PlayStation. I would say weekly, like you're getting two to three events per week, depending on the week. Sometimes that's less, but between people like Silver, people like Demo, Biscuit will, especially when a new character is coming out, he'll host events or group matches. Nikito hosting collaborations with the DS official server, which they also have their clan events. So if we're including those, then there's plenty of things to get engaged with. So there's plenty of action to be had, especially if you're on PlayStation. If you're a PC player, then definitely look into joining with events hosted by Wave Media's people like Trader PC. Itchunka is collaborating with Wave Megas as well. So them two primarily. Hey chat, if y'all want to help me out, throw out some names. Just hit me up. With Xbox, there are events. I do know that the King from UCB hosts events. I don't know how frequently, but there are events, and there's other more grassroots, I would say, hosts for Xbox. But I'm still looking to see the people who host on Xbox to promote their events more, find out how frequently they're doing their thing. Forgetting us is crazy. That is indeed crazy. I forgot to mention us myself. So yeah, I'm a TO. Crystal, a TO as well. We be hosting our events. All right, so to be fair, with us, we haven't been hosting like the week to week. We've been helping other people with their events. We did host Blade Breaker Beachside Bash for Opening Burst. We haven't been hosting as much of our own events as recently, so that's why I didn't mention us. But we do be hosting, so yeah, check us out. The clan battles and everything too. Like if you want to fight us, then hit us up as well. But yeah, Xbox. I'd mentioned Demo earlier. Did I mention Demo again? I might have mentioned Demo at the very beginning. She has her $1,000 qualifier event going on. Each week she's been hosting those qualifiers, so definitely tune into those. We're at week 12, I believe. That's going up to 16. So there's 4 more. If you want to participate in a $1,000 tournament, definitely check that out. As far as Xbox,
the link is actually right here, chat. If you guys need that in chat, I can pop.
You got it?
That
Bet.
right here.
Bet. Oh, Nightbot deleted your comment. There's no way. That's crazy.
Wait, what did he? Hang on. Only visible. Might have been on your end. I see nothing.
Oh, is it still visible on yours? Okay, I'll repost it.
I just say imagine forgetting. Oh, okay. Oh, no. Yeah, it came through on my stream.
Okay, yeah. So I just reposted it then. No worries. Yeah. That's good.
Alright, we're Gucci. But Nightbot is doing its a thing. Whatever that thing is. Demolisher, we got Nikito, we got Daddy Silver. Daddy Silver actually hosted something recently. I was in the middle of one of my last theses, and then he was hosting, what was it? The Tides of Destiny, I think?
Yeah, that was for Water Breathers. He's hosting a 2v2 tonight as well. Chrome's Coliseum is making a return as well. That's going to happen on Friday. So different events. If you're looking for them, definitely join a Discord like DS Official and ask around, stay in loop for different events, AGC, whatever server that it's in. Usually somebody's posting it in a self-promo section or a tournament announce section. So be sure to stay in loop for everything that's going on.
Okay. Hey, CJ, welcome in. Next thesis and analysis in the comp scenes in the tournaments is to go into the developer involvement and a lot of the patch rough points that have happened. So, with Demon Slayer 2, since we're 2 DLCs in, and we're also a few months into the lifespan of the game, would you say that the game is in a unique rough patch, or it's still too early to really try and label it as such to necessitate the patches for cleanup faster than need be?
Well, the game needs a patch. There's still bugs. The bugs and the stability do need to be addressed. Those are big, major factors as far as how we're able to operate in the game. There's stuff like endless that is missing. So we have group matches. So it's interesting because like for a lot of anime games, we end up getting a product that's missing group matches or spectator. DS2 shipped with that, but it shipped without the other version where it's customs and you just invite the one person and you just rematch quickly versus rotate in and out with a group match. So there's a lot of quality of life stuff that's missing. The bugs that are present, issues. So those should probably take precedence as far as, hey, making sure that the people who are playing this game are able to get the most out of it. The people who are hosting for this game, that they're able to host and, breathe a sigh of relief that the game is able to be reliable. Because sometimes you'll host for DS2 and lobby desyncs or these connection issues or a bug that happens. It's just it can be detrimental to the enjoyment of it as a competitor or as a host. So those elements, it's rough. It's rough, no doubt. As far as the things that I mentioned about mechanics, I definitely think those need adjusting as well. But stability and bugs and stuff like that, those do need to be addressed kind of first, so that the game's stable enough that we can figure out, hey, what is a problem, what isn't a problem, and everything like that, which we largely already have a good idea. But it's twofold, where the people who are really into DS2, we love it so much, but we hate it. And the people who are watching it, they're generally having a pretty okay time. The meta isn't skewed so much toward a style of play that isn't enjoyable to watch, let's say that. But it's still not the most fun to play. And it can be quite frustrating to have your level of skill be dictated by a certain character choice or a certain play style, rather than all of the players that are within this game being able to express themselves creatively and freely. So it's rough in some areas, but it's still good in other areas. It's still a game that, you know, upon a first glance and with the expectation of like, hey, we're going to get a patch, this is an amazing game. And yeah, it's an amazing game, but it's an amazing game that is technically unfinished because there exists some of these bugs. Because it exists that the lobbies are so unstable. Because it exists that you can call an assist at a certain point in your combo and your assist just gets stuck and frozen. Right?
Right.
So it's rough around the edges for sure.
Follow-up question. Have the developers tried to establish any type of transparency or communications with the product as time went on, or is it kind of like a wait and see where the developers would just kind of just drop an update and they'll let you know when they let you know?
Mostly just to drop an update and we let you know. They let us know when they do. We sometimes get updates from some top content creators that have insight on what's going on. People who are, you know, looking for, like they'll drop like magazine covers and we'll lose our minds over it. We'll look for sneak peeks of these trailers and everything like that. But it hasn't been like a, hey, we're actively, and they have like their show as well. So they have things that they show us in advance. We know that a certain character is coming, but like as far as talking to somebody or like, hey, this is a representative for DS2 that we can tweet at or we can talk to or we can expect updates from, I wouldn't really say that there has been somebody who does that. It would usually just be, okay, here's a top content creator that has some type of inside knowledge, and it's like, hey, I hear that this is coming, that's coming, so we'll wait and see.
Next analysis was to talk about the community growth and community hardpoints. In the process of waiting for updates to go through or waiting for DLC characters, what's been the growing pains of the community, or how has the community also been trying to get along with the ups and downs for, I guess, getting along with everybody and the characters that they play, or how the mechanics may or may not reinforce the meta, or characters you love, you gotta love them in order to make them work because viability isn't always a certainty.
That one's an interesting question. So I'd say this, as far as the characters that they've added to the game, there's been a lot of great additions. I love that Genya's in the game. I love that Synonymi's in the game. I love that OpenEye's in the game. I love that Gyome is in the game, as overtuned as he is. Mitsuri, and she's not the most egregious, but like every now and then there's something that's just either over or undertuned with some of these characters, that they feel out of place or that something is weird. Like seeing a player come out competitively with Mitsuri for the first time and seeing that she's teleporting across the map
the love
with her DP. Yes. Seeing her teleport across the map, flying above your head with the invincible DP that even if she didn't hit you with it, she still has like maneuvering options. Like it feels.
Sounds like she's a lot of bullshit.
And
respectfully
asterisk once again, because it's not lost on me that there does exist some forms of counterplay, but sometimes it feels a little bit too specific. Like if you're playing Gyome, for example, you can jump up in the air and knock Mitsuri out of that same DP, but that's not something that everybody in the game can do. Not everybody has an aerial option like that. I wouldn't necessarily say that everyone needs that, but for as strong as that move is, and for as hard as it can be to punish that move when she's already putting you in a lot of block stun, she's already sending her assist at you to break your guard, mixing in all of these different things, it's like, when's my turn? How am I supposed to fight this? You know? And if the only solution is switch your character to either a projectile character that can aim upward or a character that can knock her out of the sky with a gigantic hitbox, it can be kind of frustrating because, hey, I want to play Obanai, but Obanai's hitboxing, let me not get myself in trouble. Not every character feels versatile enough to address something like that. So it feels like, hey, what are we doing with this? Like, it's not as punishable as you want it to be for as versatile as it is. Like, if you're across the map and you can throw out this DP and I block said DP and I don't have a window to punish it reliably, it can be frustrating. If you now put me in block stun and it's like, okay, now that your move is over, I want to counterattack you, and then you jump over my head, you teleport over my head, and you rain down sword slashes on me, that can be frustrating. And there's different types of those kinds of interactions that happen within the game. So I can't speak for every single character that's there, but there are frustrations that exist. And yeah, we do innovate in some ways and find counterplay, but oftentimes that counterplay involves playing some of the same characters. Some of the characters that are good aren't being utilized all that often. Like Tengen's Wives, it seems like those characters are amazing and they can do a lot of really cool stuff, but people aren't playing them for some reason. Yurichi Type 0, as interesting of a concept as that character is, it's like if you get beyond if you get to any level of competitive play and you just understand how to defend against the character, then the character's not doing anything to you. So it just feels like there's too much disparities, too many oversights as far as like character designs and viability. Okay. But there's definitely cases where we thought something was crazy strong and it wasn't as strong as it was, or we thought something wasn't that good and then it turned out to be really good. Yeah.
Just had to hit the lab in order to really understand the depth of this thing that we're isolating or ostracizing in terms of it needs to be nerfed as soon as it gets here. It's like just lab it a little bit, see what type of counterplay it really is, and then you find once you see it enough times, there's actually more counterplay to it than it leads on.
Once again, I do believe that if we had push, block, and parry, then a lot of the stuff that we're having issues with, then we'll be able to find our way out of it, you know?
Right. Because I guarantee you, like, again, that's probably and you know what, that's also another thing there is because mechanics can also make these things seem weaker or stronger than they actually may seem. Mm-hmm. And when the mechanics are already proven to be an issue from jump. Or at least the key particular ones. For push, block, and what was the other one you said?
Yeah, the push block mechanics.
Yeah. No, but push block and the other one that you said, those are the main ones that just needed to find.
And parry.
Parry.
Push block and parry.
Parry.
Which, again, it doesn't necessarily need to be the level of DS1, but it feels overly nerfed in DS2. Like, push block lunge not existing in DS2, gotcha. Okay. But push blocking and then feeling like you're stuck for an eternity and can only sit there helplessly as you get grabbed or block stunned into a guard break, it feels painful. I want to be able to step backward. I want to be able to try and jump away, you know, and have those layers where, all right, you recognize that I'm going to try these escape options and you're going to chase my escape options. You're going to step forward and continue to pressure me. But
yeah, it cleans up the counter.
I'm just stuck. If I'm just stuck, then it's frustrating.
Yeah, it kind of cleans up the counterplay. Cleans up the movement options. That way you don't always got to be on the oppressive. You can also be defensive, or you can turtle through some things in order to mix up from there. Whereas, like, I have an option for a button, I just won't take it. I can get it in the next RNG situation instead of just forcibly standing stagnant.
Because it's interesting because DS2 is an arena fighter, and when it comes to arena fighters, like anyone who's coming from the FTC is like, how does this work? There's no high-low. Like, how do you mix anybody up? You know? But in a game like DS2, there's strike, throw, there's guard break, right? And there's movement, right? So even with those simple options, DS1 felt like there was so many ways that you could defend yourself, you know? Like, even when you did lose something, it felt like with these heavy guard breaks, for example, because this heavy works from across the map, it dashes at you, it changes the dynamic completely, whereas in DS1, you had to walk up to your opponent to hold this heavy attack to break their guard, right? I'm not saying that I don't like the concept of the dash. It's that it changed the dynamic of play so much that if in DS1 you got me to block and assist, you'd still have to be in range to try and break my guard this way. Versus in DS2, once I start blocking, I'm cooked. You just throw that heavy out, as long as you have a sufficient heavy for it. So, if it took that prerequisite situation where you're getting close, it's like there's so much more of me being able to stay out of that range in DS1. So much more of me being able to reduce the likelihood that you can go for that option, right? But in DS2, it's a lot simpler and a lot easier to just go for it, and then you go for the heavy. And yeah, you can try and parry. Yeah, you can try and counter heavy. Yeah, you can try and do all these things, but it feels like you're not as rewarded for careful movement. You're not as rewarded for other creative options.
Okay, that explains why in tournaments it feels like a lot of players are more like fundamentally reliant on just neutral before anything else.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, neutral skips are a thing in DS, and even with that, like it's like you have the counterplay to it. Like, let's say ED Tanjiro. If he were to do a tilt skill, that tilt skill does a lot of block stun to you. But upon blocking that final second hit, assuming the assist isn't in this interaction, then you need to push block so that you can either avoid whatever's coming next as far as the assist, or being able to get, in that case, a push block lunge. I think that was one of the cases where a push block lunge is fine. That works. Because when you push block, you negate the block stun that's there. In DS2, because there's just so much recovery on that, that push block. It's like you push block it and then you get put right back into the block stun, or you push blocked it only to get grabbed because you couldn't move after push blocking. Assuming that like it doesn't get more complicated than that. There's so many other things that could have happened, but Tengen same way. You'd block a tilt skill, you'd push block, you could step forward and parry the last hit of Tengen's tilt skill. Now, instead of that, they have it where Tengen's tilt skill is just worse at tracking and worse at hitting. So like, you can still try and push block it, but you're not getting that same kind of interaction. You're not getting that, hey, I know how to punish this. Like, for certain characters, you block a Akaza compass needle. I play Yahaba, right? Mm-hmm. So I have to like know how slow some of my moves are and what I can punish with, right? So I could get the easy punish with a light attack, or I could get a good punish with a push block and a skill. Like I could push block into ult too. Now they just made Akaza's compass needle punishable on block. And sure, but that removes the skill gap that was there. That removed the whole thing that like I had to evolve as a player to be able to do and be able to get more damage out of that interaction. So
you bring the reward to that mix-up option, because that's one of the few ones that's probably true. And now that it's minus, now it's not true. So now you can argue, does he actually have any valid mix anymore, or a way of threatening OS?
Well, I mean, Akaza's still in an okay position. It's just like the level of reward that you could get out of being a skillful player is just limited. I'm not saying that it's not there at all, but a parry, if you got it, then you would get a blue combo in DS1. You had a decent amount of time to get this combo. So you could parry, you could jump up, and with an aerial starter, go for this blue combo, right? In DS2, the window after a parry is so much smaller. The window after a guard break is so much smaller. So it's like making the tool easier to use and then reducing the reward of that tool. Or in other cases, the opposite. So it's harder to get a parry, and it's harder to get a reward off of it. It's easier to get a guard break, but you can't do a whole lot special off of a guard break. Like, if you guard broke somebody with certain moves and is when like you had a lot of time that they were staggered off of that to, again, jump into the air, do a crazy starter that you couldn't do otherwise. Go for a TOD, you know? And I'm not saying all the adjustments are bad, but it feels like it doesn't help the skill gap. It makes the skill gap smaller, where, alright, everybody's going to get a light attack off of this. If you're Yahaba and you get a guard break, you might not even get your light attack. But that's another story. Again, I'm sorry, I can rant about these things for a long time.
Oh no,
I love Demon Slayer. I might be making it sound like, oh man, this game is horrible. There's so many problems. We love this game regardless. I'm gonna be playing this game for like that. I love this game, and I want the best for it, and I hope that adjustments can be made so that everybody can enjoy it as much as possible.
Well, no, I can tell by going in depth on a lot of stuff. It's just like you really love the game, and a lot of people really love the game because they either know a lot of these instances, or they've been in a few of their own in other matchups yet to be seen or to be determined. And Chad, if you have any questions or any experiences, let me know down below in the comments section. I'd like to read them, or I'd be happy to hear them all. Next analysis is what was the highest comp presentation of the Demon Slayer community? This could be 1 or 2 or both.
So what is the highest comp presentation? So I do have to skew toward DS1 here because again that skill gap has been largely reduced, and it's not to say that there aren't good players in DS2. There are good players in DS2. There are players who have been able to push through and retain their status as top players, whether that be through sheer determination, a character adjustment. There's been new faces, new players, new play styles, new skill sets. But I do skew toward DS1 because, again, from my experience, like I've been busier when it comes to DS2, and that feels like it helps me in a certain sense for as far as like not getting frustrated with the game. Like for stuff like the final selection, I came through with Gyome, and other tournaments after that. I came through with Gyome and Murata, and lo and behold, I'm seeing that kind of team played at the highest heights of Ultimateverse that just passed around recently. You know, so it's interesting because DS1 had its own set of problems. I can't like skirt past that, and that might end up being what it starts to sound like. DS1 definitely had its own set of balancing issues, its own set of odd balancing. Sousa getting buffed towards the last patch of the game where she could cancel her piercing kick, and her being as dominant as she was for such a long time, even leading to bans for that character. Whether you thought she was broken or not, large part of the community just didn't enjoy watching her play. And in DS2, it can still be a better viewer experience in DS2, but as a player, there are some characters that you can't really play. There's some tactics that aren't as effective anymore. There's some creative options that you just wouldn't do because it's not viable. So, in a certain sense, I'd still skew towards DS1, but what DS2 is trying to be is nothing to sneeze at either. There is a different kind of competitive skill set for DS2 that deserves its own appreciation. Like, I'm not trying to say, hey, just DS1 objectively better. DS1 objectively more stable, but not DS1 objectively better. DS2 does fix some problems, but it creates new ones. You know, DS2 has its own issues. But technically, I would skew to saying the skill level is higher in DS1, but just because, you could enter DS2 with a more moderate ability as a player and still see success because of the way that the mechanics are set up, but you can still climb to the top of the ranks and set yourself apart by being the better player in DS2.
So the highest comp presentation was more or less Demon Slayer 1 over Demon Slayer 2 by default of mechanics and how execution and movement and pressure and character viability and versatility all work there more cohesively and consistently than Demon Slayer 2.
In a lot of ways, yes. It's still interesting because DS2 again has more of the character variety and more ability to counterpick um, tactics. But DS1 generally took a higher level of skill to get somewhere. DS2 you can start running a lot faster. In some ways that are positive, and in some ways that are kind of like, all right, this was a little bit too easy. I didn't really have to earn it, you know. But yeah, DS2 is still unique in its competitive identity. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to see all the counterpicks that come out. Which that is an aspect that it does have over DS1, character variety. But DS2, there are some characters that still are kind of in the shadow realm, or you don't see because the mechanics don't favor them.
Gotcha. Okay. Next assessment. And this is going to be going over the lens of Grassroots versus Matcherino when it comes to Demon Slayer 2 and its community and native decision making and comp scene, and how the plinth is represented. So for here, this is delving into, is Matcherino really needed to move the dial, or is it needed for events all the time or some of the time, or is the scene more grassroots driven and they're more driven on trying to introduce the practicality of diversity and different players and play styles? Like, yes, money is going to be a natural pivot that will come, but it's not the end all be all in order to do everything at the end of the day. And so my question is Demon Slayer 2 community more grassroots driven, or is it more fiscal driven?
You said fiscal, like money motivated?
Yes.
That's an interesting one. Would I say it's more or more? I think it's a blend of the two. The community is home to all sorts of players with different motivations. Some are driven more by their ego. Some are driven more by their competitive drive. Some people are more driven by the potential of, those prize pools, those winnings. Some people are content creators. They want to prove something and get it on video, get a clip, get an edit. So there's different motivations that come into it. But people play for the love of the game a lot of the time, and there's intersection. There's some people who are just in it for the love of the game. I'd say largely like myself, even if there isn't a whole lot to be earned, I'm here to, show my stuff as far as what I can do with the character and how I can present myself if the stage is right. But I mean, money does bring out that competitive drive for a lot, no doubt. You are more likely to see some of the either best of the best come out of the woodworks when there is a lot on the line. Even people who have issues with the game, like if they see the prize pool and it looks right to them, then they're gonna pick up the sticks. They're gonna play, and that is the case for some people where they love DS1, but DS2 they're not as big of a fan of. But when there's that sufficient prize pool or sufficient stage is big enough, then they're here for it. They're here to party. They're here to play, and to do what they can to climb to the top. So I'd say it's a mix. As far as one or the other, it's hard to say. Because you play like most of the community isn't the top players. You know, only so many of the community has actually made money off of the game as far as they are. So like, you would think that that part of the community is, you know, even if they don't think that they're at the level that they win yet, you know, they're still pushing themselves to keep going. They're still pushing themselves to be better than they were the day before, to get a little bit further in an event than they did before. So I'd say it's a blend. But that financial incentive definitely gets people really motivated, or gets people to like mark their calendar and make sure that they show up for an event. You know, the biggest tournaments usually have a lot more on the line. The 60, 70, 80 players, there's usually a few hundred on the line for those kind of numbers. You know, so it's a mix of that, and there's also events throughout the days, throughout the weeks, that, you know, there's 20, 50, 100 on the line, you know? So it's a mix.
Okay. Alright, let me see. That ends Thesis 1. As we go ahead, bookmark it here. We're going to get ready to start into Thesis 2. And we're going to begin a gradual deep dive into the competitive scene and its layerings a bit more in depthly here. With scenes, or the founding of the first people on the land, the first events, and the pantheon of champions, so to speak, and a lot of the character specialists that are, and even the ones to be. Do you mind if we bring in a guest? We did have one that did request for this particular portion.
Is that Hoodie?
That's the one.
Okay.
Stay tuned for part 2 with me and Sorryman of TCO as we dive deeper into the comp scene's history here in Demon Slayer community. Stay tuned, stay informed. Our podcast is far from done.